So people are always saying, how can I sell 1 million books? How can I make $1 million? I can do this. I'm like, figure out what you're good at,
Right,
the God-given gifts, however you see
right.
God, and figure out how to build a business around that. And right, you'll never work another day in your life. You'll love it. Make sure it
Uh,
helps people far more than you're helped, and there'll be plenty of money around. Get your mission down, and then
yeah,
just go look for one client and powerfully serve them. They'll tell some other
right.
people.
Welcome to And Then I Did This. Prepare to be inspired as we celebrate the unique journeys of individuals who've had the courage to break free and live life on their own terms. Their lives prove that you truly can be free to live your best and most authentic life. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show. Today, I have a special guest, Justin Michael. He's the secret behind the 1%, best-selling author of 10 books, former sales leader at Salesforce and LinkedIn. He's trained teams at global companies like HubSpot, and he's recognized as one of the premier executive coaches and business strategists in the world. Justin, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, and that's quite an auspicious intro. I will endeavor to live up to. Appreciate that.
Yeah, share your background and where you started, and before we get into what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so it all starts kind of falling into sales at 21 in kind of a boiler room telemarketing environment, which I know is a lot of people. But the advantage to that is I read the same 9-minute script thousands of times. So all you could really adjust was tonality and persuasion. And so you kind of really learn the frame idea of, how you carry yourself. And so
Right.
around my mid 20s, SaaS was blowing up, and I got into the mobile revolution and started working in tech incubators, like in Southern California and LA and Santa Barbara area. And around 2009, I was running global teams in Costa Rica and the Philippines, doing big telemarketing work, but I was like the supervisor up on the dais, and a lot of crazy stories there. But by 30, 31, I bit the bullet, followed the gold rush, and moved up to San Francisco. I have a brother who's been at Google forever, since like 2001, 25
Wow.
years. So I got there, and
Jeez.
he didn't help me get a job. That was interesting. I don't code or anything. And my first role ever was working for Sean Parker at this nonprofit startup called causes.com, which was the
Mm,
launch application with Joe Green. And I was an account manager there. I worked with like 200 different nonprofits. And from there, I was able to parlay that into a job at Salesforce the next year. And from Salesforce, I ended up, moving from San Francisco to New York to Seattle. And basically, long story short, working in 13 different startups. I worked at LinkedIn at the Empire State Building. And by the time I turned 40, I was like one of the top VP of SaaS sales, in your industry, in ad tech and
right,
MarTech, and
right.
selling all the stuff in the mobile app. So when the pandemic hit, I went for it and I started my own consultancy. And there was a lot of interesting challenges around doing that. I had a book coming out with my mentor called Tech Powered Sales with Tony Hughes from Sydney, Australia, who had
Mm,
mentored me for 10 years in Salesforce.
wow.
And the book did really well. I mean, we kind of went worldwide on this thing. We were the first book ever about RevOps,
Wow.
sequencers, and all the tech stacks. We put 500 tech stacks in it. Mark Roberge endorsed it. Aaron Ross wrote the forward. And I just kind of launched this global consultancy there. And since that day, it's just celebrating 6 years. I've worked with over 250 startups, 1,000 people one-to-one. I've written 7 bestsellers, probably 11 books, 10 in my name. And just done a ton of speaking and training, and pretty much all virtual, training people on sales methods, communication, linguistics, heuristics. I train a lot of consultants now. And yeah, it's just a really unique, interesting niche. And I'm torn because I could have been a CRO and I could have stayed in tech
God,
companies. I have a lot of respect for operators, but
oh,
yeah,
man.
consulting is interesting. There's 1 trillion a year that goes through it. And so I
Wow.
think 40% of tech people side hustle, and there's maybe 10 or 20 million people out there that do it, about 5 million salespeople. So I'm
Yeah.
helping them build effective side hustles with their expertise and to monetize and
So
find clients over LinkedIn. And
good.
that's kind of my day to day. So that's it.
That is so cool. That is so cool. What number employee was your brother at Google? For goodness
I don't
sake.
know. I don't even think he was that early. I always ask him, I was like, are you the best engineer over there? He's like, nah, not at all. But
Seriously.
he's an architect. So he invented a couple divisions that both scaled to 100 million each. So he's had a great run, and he teaches, he's a teacher.
Interesting.
His books have sold more than me. He does Python programming, which is like the
Wow.
super nerdy thing. And I mean, there's a lot of debate now if AI is going to take it all away, but he was at the
Mm,
perfect timing. So about
yeah.
five, we're to close this story. About 5 years ago, he called me and he's like, "What's the Challenger sale?" And I was like, "Oh, see, even at Google, you need to learn about selling because you just assume at Google everything just
Yeah.
comes inbound, right? They just open the front page." But
Oh,
yeah, we
oh
have
no.
respect for each other, and it's been a cool ride. I got into the life coaching side recently and ontology, and I
Mm,
wrote this new book called The Frame, which is about being and consciousness and identity,
right.
because usually people are looking for systems and tactics and techniques. Their
Right.
mindset's messed up, which is the Tony Robbins world, but really
Right.
their identity of how they see themselves is preventing
Exactly.
them from getting the income
Yes.
they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hear you on that one. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I think back, I was one of the only agencies I think that I was the second agency to ever host a client event at the Partnerplex at San Jose, and so we brought all of our clients into Google's headquarters and wine and dine them. And I remember Intel was a client. I remember there was a big woo-ha that the VP of marketing at that point, she stayed the entire day. I mean, I had the futurists there. I had like talking about talking about Starlink stuff back before Starlink was even a thing. So that was like
Hmm.
back in the day. So yeah, yeah, so cool, so cool. So talk a little bit about like what you're doing now. I mean, I know you talked about like the books and the training and all that stuff, but like talk a little bit more about that and
Yeah. People come to me and they want to leave maybe corporate. So I have a client here and he's at AWS for 6 years and he's going, I'm really called to coach people and train sales team and train AMs and AEs, kind of
right,
like what I find is people end up developing a gift or a talent. They have something that they truly have the 10,000 hours at. But then
right,
they kind of think, well, how do I advise? Do I need a course? Do I need a book? Do I work by
right.
the hour, concierge? Do I do a combination of these things? And then we see like the Alex Hermosis and all this stuff going
Exactly.
on. And it's really overwhelming. And it's a huge leap of faith to go out and build a business around your brand or your name. And you
Yeah,
understand this, right? So
yeah,
I help them take that leap effectively and
yeah.
figure out the vectors that they like. Because most people think, well, I have to go crazy on LinkedIn to get the followers. I have to write all these books. I have to have this YouTube channel.
Right,
But there's a lot of nuances to it. I mean, the cool thing about building a knowledge business is you can build it in your own image, right?
right,
So, like Seth Godin just has the blog,
right.
Hermosi's huge on YouTube. Some people are doing books. The way I grew up, like just the written word, and my father was linguistics PhD too. And so
Wow.
I just always wanted to write. I always had the ability to write really long books. And what's funny now is my books are shorter. So, like, I wrote this
Mhm.
Justin Michael Method series about top of funnel, full cycle, and then a book called
Right,
Attraction Selling about mindset and metaphysics. But then this whole idea of side hustles and
wow,
solopreneurship was really powerful. So
exactly.
I work with a super wide variety of clients from CROs, fractional CROs, team leads, SDR teams, consultants, coaches, you name it.
You
So
name it.
it's a
Wow.
lot. I niche on the problem. One thing I would share with listeners is everyone's like, nail your niche. Like, okay, I'm gonna work
Right,
with Series B companies in the Northeast. For
right,
me, it's like I am known alongside people like Josh Braun, maybe for helping crack the top funnel, for opening business, for net new
right,
client acquisition. And so
right,
all sorts of different ICPs and personas have that problem. And
right.
then I sit with them and I solve them. So I might be training a team on an outbound strategy to leverage technology and automation, sequencing
Yeah,
AI. And I just might be helping a chief revenue officer get paid to advise on the side, not just equity. But the big thing that people coming to me for and why they invest high fees is they're really trying to double their income, 5x their pipeline.
right,
Everyone's pushing them like, hey, you should be advising, you should be coaching. And that market's really underserved. It's a red ocean. There's 500 million small businesses. There's 5
I
million
know.
salespeople. And if you think back to your, time in corporates, you don't really get that much hands-on coaching or training usually.
Right, right.
So people that are going into this, there's a real opportunity to expand the pie for sure.
It's just funny because it's taking me back to when I very first started. At the time, my children's father was in school and I started with a phone company, right? Because my brother, he was with the Bell system. So I'm like, oh, that would be a good place to go. So it was at the time, it was Pacific Northwest Bell. And I remember when I took the job, I didn't know it was a sales role. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I was literally selling call waiting and three-way calling and call forwarding and all that. And I wound up being like the top salesperson within a matter of, I don't know, it was just a few months. I was like a part-time temporary employee working full-time and then got promoted and moved. First time they've ever done that, moved from, technically, I didn't join the union, but it was like technically, it was like a union shop, but I didn't
Mhm.
join. I actually wrote The Anatomy of a Successful Salesperson, which I wish I had that now, because we're talking about back in like 84. It was like way back in the day. And then they moved me to Seattle. And then, so I was blessed to have been exposed to, well, I actually was selling athletic and sporting goods stuff at a sporting goods store. So I hear you with what you're doing, like, huge respect for going all in and doing everything you've done. It's like
Yeah,
amazing.
well, thanks. It's interesting because people say it's a commodity and it's a red ocean. I mean, I think I was talking to this guy, Steve Richard, and I think he's at Mediafly now, and he had this like cool early chorus or gong competitor called Exact Vision. That was it. And he's like, "Hey, you need a book so you can do sales kickoffs." And like Todd Capone, who wrote the Transparency Sale,
Mm-hmm.
was my trainer at Salesforce. And I thought, okay, I need to do something different with technology and really assess all the different tech stacks that are possible. So that's kind of
Right.
where I started, and that was RevOps. And now revenue operations has gotten extremely technical now with things like Clay. It's a
Right.
lot more like coding. It's
Right.
very technical. So I focus on a lot of the soft skills. I help people with C-level communication to,
Right.
how do you get to a Fortune 10, Fortune 100, Fortune 1000? How do you even get these
Right.
folks to take a meeting with you? What's your
Right.
value prop? How do you tell stories? How do you use neuroscience? So
Exactly.
I have advanced email techniques, advanced cold calling techniques, visual prospecting, things around voice drops, video. And I wrote a book called Cold Call Algo because actually what's happening is it's very hard to automate a lot of the
Right.
prospecting and outbound processes. There's a lot of hype, like you can just AI your top of funnel,
Oh my God.
but the truth is you actually can't. And if you're receiving a lot
No.
of emails right now from ChatGPT, you're getting this kind of sloppy
Exactly.
big dashes. It's vanilla. So I
Insert.
work, yep, it's just really generic junk. Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm working with people on slowing down, hyper
right.
personalizing their messaging, getting
Right.
business acumen, understanding how people's business work. And so 75% of the workforce are millennial, Gen Z, and a lot of them
Yeah.
have been digital native and they just haven't done cold calling and they don't have to actually get in front and
Exactly.
talk to or present. So there's a gap there. Not all of
Wow.
them, but they're coming to me and they're kind of really interested in different methods because a lot of the methods to do outbound sales are almost identically. Everyone says, "Did I catch you at a
Yes.
bad time?
I
Can I get 15
know.
seconds?" It's like when
Oh,
you walk into a retail store and they're like, "Can I help you?" "No, thanks." And 100%
exactly.
of the people ask it the same way, right? So, how would you pattern interrupt that? And what would you say to stand
Right.
out? So, I
Right.
send Venn diagrams and pictures and GIFs and different things. And
Wow.
that, tends to, I send a lot of gifts to George Clooney, I'll be honest, and they love that. And this team in Canada is like, "Well, have you tested the impact of the Clooney gifts?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do a lot of testing." No, I just send a cat gif and it works. And sometimes people pay me a lot of money and they're like, "Why am I paying you to send a cat?" And then they send the cat and they get a meeting.
Right.
I had this situation down at HubSpot in Australia, and they were like, "Oh, we're not gonna get meetings with any kind of CMOs, right? Because they're not on LinkedIn." And so they went on there and they started using my chat flow techniques because I have sort of these
Right.
DM flows I call the fourth frame. And within a few days, the CMO's 17 back and forths in these
Oh
DM
my
flows when no
God.
one would answer. So that's the kind of stuff
Wow.
I work on is just making LinkedIn come alive. And LinkedIn
Ex-
is not an email platform. It's a chat flow. It's an
yes.
interactive experience and people don't get that.
Exactly. I will say I've even experienced that more like now, kind of at the beginning of the year. Like I obviously kind of went all in on LinkedIn, like, about a year, not quite a year ago. And just the way people engage, like, and even write about that. We're human beings, we're not human doings. Like we want to engage with each other, not just have a copy and paste people who are using AI to comment. I just can't. I'm just like lose my number, like lose my LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, it's the promise of AI is interesting. I mean, it is generative. It kind of takes the same patterns over and over again. So there's really a power to being strategic, being able to think, read, write,
Yes,
and a lot of the humanities that haven't gone away. So that's made my books
exactly.
different, like I've used a lot of LLMs and models and editors to enhance and synthesize content, but I'm really writing the core and I'm coming up
Right,
with new methods and models informed by these great leaders. And that generation is
right.
kind of moving on. They're in their 80s, they're retiring. There's this old guard. And I think new generations think like, ooh, it's not valid. Like people don't buy like the 90s, like writers from 2005. It's not relevant. However, the human brain is identical to 100 years ago and will be
Exactly.
the same in 100 years. We're not evolving that quickly.
Right.
So the neuroscience that powers your brain is identical.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what, I almost wrote a book called 1910 because in 2010 or
Yeah.
2110, it's
Yeah.
still going to be psychology, persuasion, neuroscience, neurolinguistic
Exactly.
programming, behavioral psychology,
Yeah.
relationship dynamics. So I could go on and on, but I think I've brought new approaches, fresh approaches to communication and B2B
Yeah.
sales, and then how to create consulting, deliver that, and just how to
Yeah.
build up clientele if you go into business for yourself, which is
Yeah,
daunting.
which is key. Yeah, which is key. So talk a little bit about the books. I mean, because I think people listening to this can get straight from the horse's mouth, like here's the method to the madness of 10 books and then what they
Yeah.
can zero in on. Yeah.
Yeah. So originally, I was part of a book called Combo Prospecting, and I'm the case study in that. And that's with Tony Hughes. And that's a straight
Ah,
up the middle cold calling manifesto, and it's done
right.
great. It's still in the top 25 cold calling books ever. That
Wow.
kind of gave me my start. And then Tony and I did tech powered sales. And this is a prediction of sales all the way to 2035, 2055 through the
Oh,
singularity. So, in many ways, we predicted ChatGPT. We called it buying and selling agents and high frequency trading.
oh,
A lot of
right.
that is happening. Then I went on and I understood that it was way too expensive. People can't spend 5 grand a month buying all this automation AI
Right.
technology. So, what if
Right.
you have a MacGyver tech stack, or you just have email and a phone and a
Right.
LinkedIn and you're limited? Well, then it's really
Right.
comes down to your tone, your communication styles. It's the
Right.
neuroscience, it's the psychology, it's persuasion. So, I
Exactly.
wrote this Justin Michael method series. The first one's called Sales Superpowers. It's all about top of funnel prospecting. And I released these 17 codex guides to Reddit and they went crazy. It's all just like email templates and phone techniques. So if you want them, hit me up. I can get them to you.
Wow.
The second book is for full cycle sellers. So people that have to do negotiation, closing, presentation, demos,
Right.
and it's all different techniques, pattern interrupts. It's
Wow.
all, neuroscience based stuff. And then
Yeah.
the third book is called Attraction Selling, and that's all about mindset and metaphysics and sort of positive
So
psychology.
good.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of hidden and encoded with a lot of kind of woo-woo
Right.
stuff. But people love that book. I thought it would be controversial. The
Yeah.
fourth book is Seven Figure Formula. That's the perfect resource for side hustles, consultants, solopreneurs,
Mm,
coaches, executive coaches, that type of thing.
right.
Then I just was so sort of miffed by these cold call books that were being released with a lot of transactional techniques that I wrote a book called Cold Call Algo. And that's sort of a sequel to Tech Powered Sales. It
Mm,
explains the regulated climate now where you want a cold call with an
right.
AI, can't do it. It's been banned. It's kind of like you can't fax someone, it's banned. You can't text people, you can't SMS, right, without opt in. We know that from Martech. So if you really want to use all the technology right now, where can you actually use AI? How do you get clean phone numbers, clean lists? How do you
Right.
do outbound prospecting for tech companies? So there's about 700,000 SDRs, but there's about 5 million AEs. They're all hunting for new business. There's
Right.
tons of small businesses. They love that book. So if that wasn't enough, I finally decided I'd do one more, and that's this frame book. And this is kind of like 48 Laws of Power meets maybe James Bond and John McCarr, or I think Billions in Succession. If like Bobby Axelrod wrote a book on
Right.
how to do big deals, it's all
Right.
about C-level frame, posture, psychology. People are saying this is the magnum opus. It's
Oh,
set in a way where it's timeless.
interesting.
You can read it 100 years from now, 100 years ago. There's nothing in it that signifies that it was written in the 2000s. That's one
Uh,
cool element. It's sort of cinematic and noir and has a spy novel, James Bond type style to it.
mm,
And I'm working on
uh,
some other stuff, more like a kind of a challenge to the law of attraction. And I don't know how many books I'll write, but the thing about the last two books is I wrote them with clients. So there's
right.
this guy, Steve Chandler, and he's done 50 books. So I worry that I might release way too many. You know what I mean?
Ah, so good though. It's so good.
Well, I probably could have written less books, and it's not that I sold that many. I mean, maybe, overall I have 1,000 reviews. I'm somewhere in the top 1%. I mean, the days of books
That's
are kind of gone.
great.
Yeah, I always just say that I'm like the Taylor Swift of author because I have a book for everybody. And I don't make money on playing the music on Spotify. I
Right.
make money on the touring. So someone comes to me and they're
Right.
like, "Hey, I need to get a CRO role. Help me. My team's not hitting quota. We have to get this business 5x pipeline in the next 6 months.
Right.
Can you help me?" They
Right.
usually read two or three of my books. They watch some interviews like
Right.
this. Then they come in. People have a lot of ambitions and aspirations. They want to build consultancies and they want to coach people,
Yeah.
and then I just, instead of them reading the all the books, I
Right.
just coach them for 90 days or 6 months. And but the beauty of it is about 97% of my clients, I've had hundreds, have at least doubled their income and brought in new revenue streams because
Yeah.
the core of what I teach is client acquisition
Yeah.
and net new business and hunting and effective ways to do that.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
under the sun. So the cool part about my coaching is I can directly tie it to ROI. And I know a lot of life
Yeah.
coaches maybe listening, they're like, I'm a conflict resolution coach, I'm a well-being or mindset. Like, how do I charge 25 grand or 5 grand or any high fee? Because they can't directly see
Right.
the money coming back.
Right.
And I've been able to work with people like that because I can show, if someone is healthier or has a better mindset, the company does better,
Exactly.
there's less conflict, that type of thing. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
So good. So good. Well, I'm thinking of some other folks that are in my Rolodex that I know would definitely love a conversation with you and maybe good, good prospects and, people that would love what you do. Yeah. So I'll be sending those your way. Talk a little bit about your journey to stepping out into your own endeavor and kind of the mental psyche, the thought process, how you went about doing that, and any advice you'd have for people thinking about it.
Great question. I've started to compare that to skydiving. I mean, when you're going to skydive, you literally jump out with someone else.
Right.
And when I
It's
learned to
true.
ski actually at Mammoth Mountain, I had a ski instructor. So
Right.
within a couple trips, I was doing black diamond ski runs and even doing moguls. Another
Mm,
thing is I tend to work with people that are experts. They have the 10,000 hours. They've done 10,
right.
15, 20 years in the seat and they're ready now to teach others.
Right.
So they're kind of like the skier that's
Mhm.
black diamond skier or blue, and
Right.
they're now trying to learn snowboarding. And I'm kind of like, this is a goofy foot surfboard. You're going to fall. And it's
Right.
really tough on their ego because it's a change management thing. It's like you're going to
Right.
learn stand up paddleboarding, you're going to learn to surf, you're going to fall out on the waves. Like if you've just done, right,
Right.
boogie boarding or whatever. So
Exactly.
the thing is, though, that they're experts and they have good balance and they have good acumen. So they will learn it. But for me, I was just sort of terrified. Like, it was the unknown unknown. Like I had for 20 straight years done W-2 full-time work for a
Right.
company, always
Right.
an ad tech, MarTech company. And, I finally got the self-belief to do it. The weird thing is they're not rejecting Salesforce. They're rejecting Justin Michael. So the rejection is very personal. And you're always looking at yourself like, is my brand good enough? Do I have the right positioning? You're always psychoanalyzing yourself.
Right.
But ultimately, it's usually them. They don't hire you because they're not ready.
Right.
The money's not in the right place.
Right.
They're scared of change. They're going through their own
Right.
process. So, a lot of what
Exactly.
I'm coaching people on is how to get up the testimony. There's two ways to buck this. One, go get psychotherapy. It's good. Number two, market validation. So, what I do with new coaches or people transitioning
Right.
is I say, okay, go get testimonials from people you've already helped, not just the
Right.
LinkedIn recommendations, get videos, get
Right.
testimonials, read them. So it's funny, all the actors don't watch their own movies because it makes them self-conscious, but it's the opposite process. So you're right,
Exactly.
you're going and you're worried about not getting clients. You read, like I look back at the
Right.
HubSpot trainings I did and people are like, wow, I got like 5x more pipeline, or I had this guy up in Canada I've worked with a couple of times. He literally 5x his income of a client who's doing 100,000 a month. It does happen. Usually validation seeking is not good behavior, but it's
Yeah.
just there's a lot of internal pressure when you work for yourself and build your
Yeah.
own brand. So that's one little shortcut. And I think I took that
Yeah.
from David C. Baker in the business of expertise. So like that first 4 or 5 months, I was kind of in free fall and even doubting like, should I go back and just be a
Oh
CRO?
gosh.
Like, I can make 200K, 400K, but I just saw myself sitting in the Atlanta airport.
God.
Right. And
Oh,
just flying all over the world. And now I'm going to Europe and getting these bigger roles. And, I work with some CROs and they're working 70-hour weeks and they're
Oh,
grinding for
Jesus.
7 years.
Oh
And
my
some of them do
God.
make $1 million and it's high tax and it's tough. But I wanted the freedom to kind of
Yes.
write books. So I realized around 40, I'd been told since I was 10 that I would be a great writer and I had elements of different kinds of geniuses I could leverage. But the weird thing was, I would meet with multimillionaires and I'd say, well, what's my genius? You keep saying I was smart. They're like, you're a communications genius. I'm like, okay, those were the people at UCSB that became bartenders and trainers. No shame in that, but that wasn't a millionaire. I was like, so I should be
Right.
a sociology major? What?
Right.
And so, but that gift translated into me building a science of communication and
Right.
building like a linguistics method
Yes.
called Justin Michael method, which is heuristics, which is B2B sales.
Right.
Let's just call it reverse psychology or a new method for the top of funnel. A lot of the problem when I have clients is they feel like that. I say, okay, go ask your friends and family and 12 people what you're great at. Someone's like scotch, they just mess with them or whatever, they come back with that. But a lot of people say things like, trustworthiness,
Right.
expertise, calm under pressure. And I'm working with people to translate that into an ideology for consulting, a methodology.
Right. Oh,
Right. So I have
smart.
a consultant coming on right now. He's done, 25 years in the seat, 5 years at Oracle. He's making 500,000 a year and he's going out
Yeah.
to build his consultancy up. And he'll be like, what will I do? And I was like, well, it's all going to be easier than working for Oracle. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so they always come from like something
Exactly.
impossible. They're like, yeah, I'm doing all these Fortune 500 deals and I'm working at SAP.
Oh,
And I'm like, but I don't know if I can coach people. I'm like, it sounds impossible what you do now. You're like a brain surgeon. You're wondering if you can open a lemonade stand. I'm not devaluing it. It's not quite that. There's other pressures and stresses.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
the thing
But
about coaching is you've got to be prospecting all the time for yourself and getting into tons of conversations. So it's a lifestyle where you're sitting on a plane and you're talking to the person next to you. And
right.
there's just like a constant churning of conversations to get enough pipeline going to really build it up. And I think people expect that they can do a book or a blog or a Kajabi or a Teachable, and they're just going to be Hermosi. Like, hey, I just for fun put out like 60 YouTubes once and it didn't do anything. I got like 50 views on them because it just
Oh,
wasn't for me. But the books
right.
took off for me because I had the
Right.
passion for the books and people
Right.
sensed that and they gravitated for it. And I pushed through and asked for the reviews. So there's this Naval Ravikant idea of the pyramid of leverage. And your
Mm,
greatest asset is your content and your sweat equity because you can put out unlimited content. It's what you're
right.
doing. You're building
Right.
these different podcasts and
Exactly.
then it lives forever. And YouTube's the second largest search engine. And then people can
Right.
find you and
Right.
find ways you can help them and their team.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I mean, it's that, kind of that saying like, yeah, working as a CRO and flying all over the place is hard. Starting your own endeavor is hard. Choose your hard. Like, it's
Yeah.
going to be like, do you want like to live a life on your terms or do you want to have a boss and a performance review and a go here, go there, put your request in for time off and hope you get it? Like, no, thank you. When I was in New York and I walked from the bathroom back to my office when I had gone back to New York after helping, an agency in San Diego grow to acquisition. And I was just like, I was miserable. And I was like, when is my sentence going to be out? No one does anything forever. So,
Yeah.
and that's like prison. That's like someone who was in prison would say that. So it's like, it was like, golden. Once I walked out, which is over 10 years ago, and stopped doing that, it's like, it's the golden handcuffs, but it's a cage you create for yourself. And once you get out, what you thought was your comfort zone really wasn't all that comfortable because you're
Yeah.
jumping through other people's hoops.
Well, you're bringing up another concept, which is if you build a knowledge business or if you build your own sort of 4-hour work week or you work for yourself,
Yeah.
you have to be really careful that you don't rebuild a gilded cage, right? You don't
Oh,
just
God,
turn into
no.
an agency and overload. So by the
Oh,
fifth month, I had 40 clients because I panicked and just went sort
oh
of
my God.
Tasmanian devil. It's like different energy drinks. And I was working from like 6 in the morning, 1 at night. And then like to fulfill the work, I failed over. So I hired my friend. So I was already in an agency model by like the fifth month as a
No.
victim of my own success of pipeline generation.
Right.
And then I decided that I scaled back and let him go. We just stopped partnering. He was also a consultant. He's done great. But the thing is that I wanted a boutique nature so I could fully customize and tailor and have the
Right.
space to work on things in a really bespoke way. Because when you get into that level of like a Sandler system, it's really consistent delivery. And that's great. You go get challenger training, it's great. What I do is different. People are always like, what's the package? What's the brochure? I'm like, it's not a brochure. Like the
Yeah.
the subject matter is like your problems, your challenges, the things holding you back. Right.
Right.
And so it's all custom, it's all tailored
Custom.
to you. And that's why it's
Yeah.
different and that's why the fees are higher. And some people love that. They love the codification, the processation, and they love to
Yeah.
just do it all the same and cookie cutter. But for me, that's kind of what SaaS sales was. It was a really stringent methodology
Yeah.
and blue collar, pale blue collar work. Now, if I'm coaching a CRO, it's totally different than I'm working
Yeah.
with maybe like a junior salesperson, or
Right.
I'm working with a team versus an individual coach. And I
Right.
love the variety of that. It keeps it fresh. I learn from
Yeah.
them. I'm always reading
Right.
up on different styles and methods. And but the beauty is it's only what's absolute and true for you, what you love
Right.
to do. So there are people that
Exactly.
love operations and being in corporates and want to be a CRO. So I have respect for that. It's like you just have to, right? Tim Ferriss's
Oh my
blog for 4 Hour
God.
Work Week was called Experiments in Lifestyle Design. I'll never forget that. That was his
Yeah.
original one. And
Wow.
that's it. You have to ultimately at some point live for yourself.
Exactly.
Obviously,
Yes.
there's sacrifices and compromises for your family and the different dynamics and putting others first. But sitting in a corporate hamster wheel, if you're miserable, when you
Yeah.
have gifts and things and like I knew I had a
Right.
book in me for like 20 years and then I finally did it and it was really successful. So
Absolutely.
maybe you're sitting here listening to this. And so Wayne Dyer said, you don't want to die with your music still inside you. That's how he called it.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. When I went through the coaching program at the New York Open Center, and one of the books that was on the reading list was Donna Markova's I Will Not Die an Unlived Life. And
Yeah.
that is that same kind of message. And so, yeah, I'm like beating the drum. I'm not even selling anything at this point on LinkedIn. I'm just like, step out. I like an AI prompt guide, like step out, like explore, your 9 to 5 exit. What does it look like? Yeah. And just get started in that direction. Yeah. I definitely say no to more business than I say yeah. Cause it's like, I know my enough and I know the quality of life that I've created and I just don't need to be going crazy. It's like, there's no point in it. I'm
Yeah.
writing books too. So that,
There you
that,
go. Just
yeah.
just doing what you love, getting up. And
Yeah.
I think the key to success for me has been service. Like Ian Cognac sent me The Go Giver. I read that was powerful. People are always saying like,
Ah,
what did it take to get you to 100K month or to like a 7 figure year to that level? Because I
right.
couldn't really reach that in these startups because even making 200 grand, you're getting paid, more than
Right.
the C levels
Right.
usually. But to me, it's like the philosophy of selflessness and just really powerfully serving clients. And like, I'll go for a 10,000 step walk or something, and I'll be thinking of my clients and
Right.
innovative ways to help them grow their businesses. I have
Right.
the attention off myself versus when I was selling
Right.
software, it was all like, how will I hit my number? How I be the best
Right.
seller in the world? And that's cool too. So, if you're going to go into the service business, you got to love service and you got to fall in love with
Right.
it. And then the second tip is you have to love the prospecting. Everyone's like, okay,
Right.
can I hire an agency to do that? Can I put VAs in my LinkedIn profile? They want to hand up. That's the good stuff.
I know.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like master networkers. Like they love going to networking events, meeting new people, talking to strangers.
Right.
It's not that you have to be extroverted versus introverted,
Right.
but half of your life is really acquiring the clients and having net new conversations. And
Right.
that kind of comes from Steve Chandler, and he had a crazy life. But when my clients, my main goal is for them to fall in love with the hard part, the part
Right.
that's the salad, not the steak necessarily, because everyone wants to just get the clients and do the coaching. And
Right.
they spend
Right.
fortunes becoming, ICF certified and getting all these
Right.
credentials, and that's great. And
Right.
they think that just be so good they can't ignore you. Like if I'm just the best coach. The
Ah,
problem is there's 11,000 books a day. There's millions of people
right.
you're competing with. You're
Exactly.
getting on LinkedIn. There's someone with a bright red hat and a red book thumping it like, like a missionary. And then you're in there going like, oh, look at this. I'm becoming an amazing coach. And you're just shouting in the void. You're in the woods. No one
Oh,
knows you exist.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the paradox is people
I
usually are
hear
good
you.
enough at what they do. Even when they start these businesses, they have 10, 15, 20 years experience. You'd be amazed. I meet people all the time who are just genius level.
Right.
And sometimes they can't get a single client and they're wondering where they come from or why. And they're sitting thinking like, why aren't I good enough? And they're
Oh,
approaching the wrong problem when
right.
obviously the problem you have to go out is actually the client acquisition motion,
Right.
and going and
Exactly.
getting in DMs and doing that sort of thing.
finding that in a meaningful way. Well, all of your links are going to be in the show notes below because I know people definitely, like you said, it may be like the entree of a book, and then they're like, okay, yeah, this guy is the real deal. Or they may hear you today, and so we'll have all of your contact information in the show notes. So thank you so much. What final words of advice would you have for anyone out there who's miserable doing what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking people, they forget what you say, they forget what you did, they remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
That Maya
Yes.
Angelou quote. And then the other one is people buy you. So like CB and Gardner have done all these tests on why did they buy, and they say things like, well, they understood my business, this and that, but it's the experience of the
Yes.
interaction that
Yep.
creates it. So my dad used to always say, like, your superpower is your you. And I'm like, huh? I was like this Zen tone, like, what the heck does that
Right.
mean? Like, there's only one of you, that's your superpower. I'm like,
Right.
what do you
Right.
mean? And so even in a world where everyone does what you do, there's a million
Exactly.
coaches or a million sales
Yes.
trainers or a million writers, and you're like, oh, I don't need to write a book. Like, Ray Dalio already wrote that book, or Oprah wrote that book, whatever it is. Like, you still should go
Exactly.
out because you have a voice, you have a flavor, you have a lens. There's
Yes.
millions of colors of just the color blue, and your voice
Exactly.
matters. And share your story, go out there. Just don't live a life where you're playing it too safe because you're worried about what's going to happen. Most people become millionaires, I think it's between the ages of like 55 and 65 when they actually measure it. So
Wow.
people are thinking like, oh, I
Yeah.
can't do this. I'm in my 40s. It's too late. The ship sailed. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be Mark Zuckerberg. Like, yeah, they're young people that do it, but a lot of people start to do well
Most.
in their mid
Yes.
40s and in their 50s, and 60s the new 40, that type of thing.
Exactly. It's making me think of the the analogies of people think like they don't think they can make a difference. It's like the Dalai Lama said, like, tell that to a mosquito in the middle of the night.
That's a good one.
It's like,
That's a good one.
and then the
That is a
butterfly.
law.
Yeah, I posted yesterday. It was just like, like the butterfly effect. Like you can put out one simple thing, and that simple thing could ripple through around the world, and you would have no idea the effect you had. Just start. Just start
It's
messy.
true.
Start now. Don't wait.
Yeah,
Perfect doesn't exist. Like just go. Just do it.
so
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I'm always trying to slow down, and Mother Teresa said just help one person. So it's about being that garden
Right.
snail and being really patient and going out there one at a time. Margaret Mead had the quote that, everything positive in the world's from a small band of people. There was an essay called "A Thousand True Fans" on the Technium, and that became redone as
Oh,
100 True Fans. So people are always saying, how can I sell 1 million books? How can I make $1 million? I can do this. I'm like, figure out what you're good at, but
right.
the God-given gifts, however you see
Right.
God, and figure out how to build a business around that. And right, you'll never work another day in your life. You'll love it. Make sure it
Uh,
helps people far more than you're helped, and there'll be plenty of money around. Get your mission down, and then
yeah.
just go look for one client and powerfully serve them. They'll tell some other
Right.
people. And you know that one where the guy starts dancing at the weird concert and he's dancing all crazy, and it's like, what? And then two more people go, and three more people, and then the whole place jumps in. The
Right.
first follower concept. That's kind of what it was. Like, I started and I photoshopped a robot on my face, like the Terminator. I had the bloody Terminator on my
Right.
face. And this famous guy, I won't say his name, he said, that's a career limiting move. You won't get corporates. And I just sucked the oxygen because I was the only guy with a robot. Looked a little crazy, but I sold a lot of books that way. And because I just felt like that would be hilarious and like,
Right.
Arnold or something. So yeah, that's what I got. I'm easy to find. Just Justin Michael on Amazon, Justin Michael on LinkedIn, and I got a lot of Easter eggs in my books and a lot of additional materials. And yeah, if you're looking to have the best financial year of your life and you're somewhere in sales or coaching or technology, go to market. I could help you.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom and giving people hope. Hope is alive. They can jump out and be successful. If you and I did it, anybody can do it.
Totally true.
Thanks so much. And that's a wrap on another episode of And Then I Did This, celebrating the lives of those who've walked away from the beaten path to pursue work and a life that nourishes their soul. If you're feeling inspired and ready to explore your own path to freedom, check out youcanbefree.life, where you'll find resources and support to help you break free and live life on your own terms. See you next time.